So this is one of the things that has come up over the past couple of weeks that's really inspired me to come back to YouTube.
Enough is enough.
Whoops. So yeah, so basically, this terrorist named Dalton Easterly was going around calling black people the N word and was threatening to shoot them if they were to respond to him in any negative way, which included, of course, a lot of people threatening to put hands on him for them being disrespectful and, just saying awful things in public to people for no good reason. And it's kind of weird to me that we have to have this conversation. I feel like any person who doesn't understand why that doesn't understand why white people shouldn't say the N word is extremely purposely being stupid and obtuse, or they are someone who's like extremely emotionally unintelligent. And I don't understand how how you come out in public, because I feel like when it comes to the public, like the public sphere, right, or we're going out in public talking, I feel like, in my opinion, if you don't have something to say to somebody that's positive, you shouldn't say anything at all. And this is even about policing people's ideas. Because if you don't like black people, you don't have to live near black people. You don't have to talk to black people. You don't have to shop at black businesses. There's plenty of places that you can live and go where you don't have to be around black people. But you taking the time to have to actually come into the inner city or black communities or find black people at stores and businesses that are just going about their day to say awful things to them proves that you're the one that's crazy. You're the one with the obsession, and you're the one who, how can I say, have no self control. So speaking of that, it kind of reminds me of, what was that movie called? The DC movie. It was Batman, Superman, Public Enemies, when Batman was talking to Major Force on top of that building. This is not about free speech or some sort of noble cause. This is about a psychopath who has latched on to a reason to try to kill people. And I think that sort of quote is deserving of special attention here, because people try to say like, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. White people's speech is like so-called police. But in actual reality, it's kind of just like, why can't you go outside and function like a regular person without saying slurs to people? Why do people have to police and tell you the things that you should and shouldn't say? Why do people have to handhold you through every issue? And I think that's the main question that should be asked here. So I'm going to check out the debate between Abba, I believe Abba and Preach. I think they're both going to be here. They're debating Sneako about who should and shouldn't say the N word. I'm going to see how far I can go. This is a video that I haven't even pre-watched. I don't remember any arguments from it because I was supposed to go over this weeks ago. But, I was going through my shit. So when all this stuff was happening, including Shelter Builder going to jail or Dalton going to jail, I wasn't running to my computer to go over this stuff. So without further ado, be a better person. And if you are a hateful person, if you can't unlearn that hate, stay away from the people you hate and just go about your life on your own with the people that you like, and don't take out your ignorance on other people. So let's see what we have going on here. Skip ahead a little bit, because DJ Academics, by the way, does not deserve credit for that debate at all. DJ Academics is still an Uncle Tom. He's still a Sambo piece of shit for the things that he was saying about Megan Thee Stallion, and the fact that he's an open Trump supporter. He hangs out with people like Aiden Ross, who are open white supremacists. And this guy, for once, called out white supremacy. That doesn't make you a good person. That makes you a broken clock that's right once a day. So without further ado,
a lot of people basically proclaiming ACT as having a really great moment. What do you think that people missed when it came to that debate? And then I will get into it afterwards.
It was miscaptioned. I didn't say words don't have meaning. I said slurs change, and that word has changed its meaning. And so it only has as much power. Slurs like that only have the power.
Yeah, he's basically saying, I wasn't wrong that way. I was wrong this way. What you said is still wrong. I'm going to try to see what I can get out of like 10, maybe 15 minutes of this debate, because debates can kind of drag on, especially ones such as this that are kind of impromptu set up. And I'm going to see what I can get out of it, because Sneako is a really smooth-brained son of a bitch. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to get out of this.
Or that you give it. And so we shouldn't give energy to clear rage baiters the same way Muslims we shouldn't give energy to people like Jake Lang. If you're a paid agitator.
And then Sneako is not even a real Muslim. He's just a misogynist who's latching and a homophobe who's latching on to a minority religion to push his bullshit. just like Andrew Tate. These people do not give a fuck about, Islam or the Muslim faith. They care about latching on to the worst representations of that faith as a representation of their politics.
Don't give them what they want. Rage baiters are only rage baiters.
Are you
who get
serious?
arrested. So it's better to ignore them.
Yeah. So just a couple things, right? They gave the example. I think he did touch on something that was very real, because he spoke about the fact that you thought it was amusing in some points, what some of the aspects were he was doing, but you kind of said you condemn it, but that you did find some aspects amusing. And then he pointed out to some of the examples in regards to, making a mockery of God in some contexts, or going to a mosque and then antagonizing people there. And then you said you didn't feel like it was funny. And then you also mentioned the fact that comparing God to a person doesn't make any sense. But I think his point to me, go ahead.
But also, I do think it could be funny. Like, I've been heckled while praying. When we were in Times Square doing the Ramadan prayer, people came up and were yelling like "Christ is King." And when people come up and put bacon on themselves and try to antagonize Muslims, I think that's funny. It's supposed to be provocative, and it's rage bait. It's
funny and disgusting to have people provoke and antagonize people in public. Sneako is fighting for one of the... He's literally fighting for the movie Idiocracy. I know the Idiocracy has been a comparison, especially since the so-called UFC event at the White House a couple of days ago. But, goddamn, this is Idiocracy. This dude is literally advocating for people not to be productive and smart citizens that respect each other. He's talking about, it's funny for people to come up and do horrible and offensive things to people. What a person, what a subject of a person we have here.
Or when guys like that come outside of Mom Donnie's office here in New York, trying to sacrifice a pig, I think that's funny. I just was watching Tommy Robinson's protest, and some guy came on stage playing a violin, and he put 2 strips of bacon on him specifically to disrespect Muslims.
And this proves again that Sneako does not care about Islam, because anybody else, and I've known, because I live near Dearborn. I worked in Dearborn for about 10 years. Anybody who actually cares about the Islamic faith and is actually a true Muslim does not take kindly to bigoted, xenophobic bullshit being perpetuated against their religion. This is because Sneako, at the end of the day, is a white supremacist, a self-hating whatever he's a mix of, right? Because I think he's half black and half white. I heard he's half black and half Asian. But whatever this guy is, he's self-hating. And if anything, he's a self-hating Muslim too. Most Muslim people, ironically enough, are very dignified and strong people who wouldn't accept somebody mocking Islam in front of their face.
I think that's funny. It's stupid, but it's funny because it's dumb. Doesn't mean I am encouraging it. You could find things funnier.
This is encouraging it, saying that it's funny. Saying something is funny and not disgusting or provocative is actually encouraging the behavior. I know that might be a little difficult for people like you to understand, but I don't know, Sneako. Maybe you're just like I said about Anton Daniels. You should get like a high school diploma and get a real job. You shouldn't be somebody that is doing political commentary if you're not smart enough to understand that basic social concept of civility.
Amusing doesn't mean that you're condoning it.
Sure. Taking yourself out of it, do you feel like most Muslims would find that very insulting?
Yes.
Because I remember you at the time when he gave the mosque example, you didn't find it funny, right? So, and my experience is most Muslims would not find that funny or amusing and find it incredibly disrespectful. And I know you brought up the whole Jake Lang thing, but like I told you, I'm pretty confident he has been attacked a few times already. He's had his Quran snatched when he tried to burn it before.
So Jake Lang is going to prison too for terroristic threats because the Carmelo Anthony thing. So that kind of reminds me of a stench of positivity. We have Donald Trump stopping the war with Iran. No credit to him because he shouldn't have got into it. Gas is still $4 a gallon, and inflation is still up. We have Jake Lang going to prison. We have Chud the Builder getting his bond revoked. There's been so much good news going around lately, but the point being is that, again, Sneako does not represent people that are Muslims. Sneako is a conundrum of a person that has built in all these things like quote-unquote being a fake Muslim and being a person of color who exists as a right-wing operative to defend white supremacy. And apparently just plain old disgusting behavior. He's not a person that in any way should be taken seriously as like somebody to get political or life advice from. because it's obvious that he's playing a role here.
So people have definitely gone after him for his behavior. Clearly, they didn't just say it's just words or just symbols. They took it to heart and they felt disrespected by his actions.
But we should ignore these people. We shouldn't give them what they want, because what he wants to do is say, look, I don't have free speech in America. I'm a white Christian, even though he's a Jewish Zionist and he's LARPing as a white supremacist. If he's looking...
And you're a mix of black, Asian, Muslim, LARPing as a white supremacist too. At least Jake Lang has white people in his family.
For a reaction to then go blame Muslims and say that there's no free speech, you can't give him what he wants. So it can be offensive, but the best course of action is to ignore these people.
Nah, because what Sneako is arguing here is inactivity against fascists. And we've seen how that's played out in history. When we have this idea of inactivity against fascist people, white supremacists, provocateurs, and stuff like that, it's like the police won't do anything about it. They popularize their ideas for being seen in the limelight. Now, I'm not trying to advocate for violence here, but something definitely should be done about these people. We cannot allow people like Jake Lang or Dalton Etherly or what's that dude named Tyler Oliveira or Nick Shirley to pollute political discourse with nonsense, so that working class people are more and more divided and the actual problems that we deal with never get solved. These people are operatives of disunity who serve the interests of either, if not rich, wealthy people themselves, but of white supremacists that want to actually take over the world and destroy people and hurt people for no good reason. So these people should be taken seriously and stamped out at every turn. Whether it's like slashing their tires, or I dare even say putting hands on them. These are terrible people with sort of terrible view. And then it's like also ignoring, right, the idea that these people are not violent. Because of the ideas that these people put out, if not doing it themselves, right, a lot of these people cause people to get beat, people to get lynched, people to get attacked, women to get raped, people to get kidnapped. So this idea that fascists and provocateurs or fascists in general that are going outside harassing people should be ignored and not be confronted in any way only serves the interests of the fascists. And Sneako knows that, because that's his real argument. This is a fake argument about not giving people quote unquote what they want, because that seems simplified. And it's like ironic, right, where they get to complain about the stupid shit, right? Like if like Jasmine Crockett or Kamala Harris came on some podcast and they said, I believe white people can do better. What are you saying? Are you saying white people suck? This is what I'm talking about. Blacks hate white people. But then, y'all can't show stoicism when it comes to that. But a black person is supposed to show stoicism in the face of literally being called a hard R, a word that was some of the last words some black people heard before they never woke up ever again. Sure.
I don't disagree that ideally if somebody's doing something nonviolent that you respond with violence. But I also think there's not a place on this planet where that...
And this is where I disagree. I believe this one is preach. No, they are going around in public promoting harmful stereotypes about people, dehumanizing people. This is a step-by-step process to open certain people up to violence, right? So Jake Lang himself might not commit acts of violence, right? Because he probably doesn't know how to fight. He's probably a little shithead. But the actual Proud Boys, National Social Club, Patriot Front, a lot of these people show up to events and they want to fight. And he leads people like that to further dehumanize people on the left, gay people, black people, Muslims. And these people are more comfortable with committing violence because of the leadership of people like Nick Shirley, Tyler Oliveira, or Jake Lang. So, even though they're not directly committing violence themselves, they're normalizing the idea of committing violence against minority groups.
Is a universal standard.
We shouldn't give power away to other people, especially if those people are against us. You can't have
shouldn't
people
give power
with
to...
emotional. You shouldn't let people have emotional control of you that way.
Sure.
Taking away your
But
power.
Even now, okay, let me ask you: if you're traveling with your mom or your kid, and someone goes up to them and starts calling...
I mean, what's so random about that is that this is not somebody losing emotional control and stuff like that. Because again, this comes to what I said earlier. If you're in public with somebody, and oh my God, it's going to be hard to make it through 10 to 15 minutes of this, because this nigga is stupid. Most people, when it comes to public places, right, what do you mean taking power away from you, right? Because again, the only thing that you should be saying to anybody in public is something positive. It should be, have a nice day. Your car looks nice. I hope everything's been okay with you. Oh, where did you buy that shirt from? Things like that are the only things you should be saying to people in public. You have no excuse, because you're the person that lacks emotional control if you feel the need to go out in public and insult people and call people slurs. That proves you are emotionally unintelligent. That proves you are ignorant, and you should be dealt with accordingly as the person feels, because you had that person lost. And then it's like, not to mention the fact, right? A lot of people are not emotionally stable, and not because they're black, not because they're bad people, not because there's even something wrong with them. Somebody can be having a bad day, and the last thing they need is some racist white person coming up to them calling them the hard art. Like, that is so stupid. Like, dude, like like, it's so easy to understand. You don't know what people are going through, and you cannot expect people to just take abuse and insults from people and not eventually down the line lose their shit on somebody. I think that's extremely. I think, like, saying is dishonest is an understatement. It's just plain stupid.
Them all kinds of crazy names. Are you not going to get emotional? Yes, you will. Everyone would.
Right, but the point, you try to diffuse the situation and not drag your family into something they should be dragged into.
I mean, they're already in the situation already, because the person came over there saying slurs or obscene things to a little fucking child, right? This situation has already begun. You're already there. The situation should have never happened. The person that is saying the things to the child is in the wrong, you dumbass. See, I don't understand why like a lot of white supremacists and they're like little like enablers like Sneako don't understand that. Like, this situation shouldn't be here. It shouldn't happen. We shouldn't have to deal with it. And there's no excuse for it. And this is a really easy concept to understand, that if you hate black people, you could walk past a black person at a movie theater, get your popcorn, and go in the movie with your family or your friends. You don't need to go to the movie theater and call somebody's black child the N-word. You didn't need to do that. You don't have to do that. Nothing obliged you to do that. But you created the situation anyway, because, again, you are an unstable person. Look at the motherfucker that was doing it, and let that be a warning to y'all, right? About people like Chud the Builder and stuff. That dude became more and more mentally unstable. He wasn't cleaning his house. He wasn't showering. I heard that he wasn't even wearing underwear, and he was wearing white fucking pants. But the point being is that to be a person that go out in public and call somebody horrible names, you have to be an extremely unstable person. You would be the person that's chimping out because you had no emotional control to keep your thoughts and behaviors and your biases to yourself and just go about your day without saying anything to, whether it's an adult or a child. Like, it wouldn't really matter when we look at it objectively as real adults and not through this bullshit stoicism that Sneako is trying to promote.
Sure. You're trying to diffuse the situation, but my point, you have the one thing we have ultimate control over is your emotion and how you feel. Is that disrespectful? Am I going to get upset? Yeah, it's your responsibility to not allow somebody to try to rage bait you. Am I going to try to diffuse it? Yes. Am I going to go out and encourage violence and put money on his head? I think that's a waste of energy.
I think I agree with the point.
I mean, I don't think it needs to go that far to, like, for you to put money on a random person's head. But if somebody calls your child an N-word, or they say that your, like, teenage daughter has, like, a nice ass or something like that, and you like cuss that person out or blow their shit out, I think that's completely warranted. That person had no right to violate your social contract and get in your face with their problems. So when people like that get what was coming to them, they're the one that's in the wrong. They're the one that displayed their ignorance and emotional instability, and now they're paying the consequences for it, not the other way around. Like, how stupid is this nigga?
Point that you shouldn't try to give, but the reality is that we do. The reality is that we do. And because that's a reality, you can't say these words don't have meaning. There's nobody on this planet who's going to sit here while their child or their mom is berated right in front of them. You're going to get emotional. you're going to have some urge to protect. Why? Because even though you can say to them, guys, words don't have meaning. You look at your kid, go look at your mom or whatever it was. Words don't let them control you. They're going to get upset and you're going to get defensive. You can't just do this whole stoic thing where we pretend like this is going to be a standard for everyone and not recognize that words are going to impact us. It will.
Right, but I don't want it to submit to weakness. So you're agreeing. You're saying.
I mean, it's not submitting to weakness. The person that couldn't keep the words to themselves is the weak person. They're the person with emotional instability. And I think that's where like the crux of these conversations about people saying the N-word in public, where I have such an issue with it, because the illness is putting on a person responding, but what goes on in somebody's freaking mind that makes them go out in public and have to say horrible things to people? Who's really the emotionally unstable person here? Not to mention all the factors that I mentioned later. You never know what somebody is going through that day, and because you're dumb enough to go up to somebody and say something stupid, now they're taking it out on you. But it's like you wouldn't be in that situation, that fight. You wouldn't be, in that tussle if you would have just been quiet or even said something nice to that person. Because I don't understand, like, why is it so mentally unstable to knock somebody out for calling you a racial slur, but it's completely emotionally stable to go around calling people the hard R in the means of freedom of speech by some nigga, yeah, I said it, that wasn't even wearing underwear, walking around with a gun, threatening to kill black people. Like that just, that will always bug me about these conversations. Like who's really emotionally unstable?
I know we should not let this control us. So that's the point. That's what I want to hear talking heads talk about. When I see rappers talk about this, rather than encouraging violence, they should say, hey, ignore this person. Don't let them control you. Don't let them win.
Sure.
So although we do get emotional over these things, we need to advocate towards a society that's not violent. If you say we live in a violent society.
I mean, we do live in a violent society, right? These people that you're talking about not only commit violence like lynchings and beatings against leftists, black people, or homosexuals, they also have voting and political power. The Trump administration has been very violent against a lot of their enemies. And these people are very supportive of the violence against people who they dislike for whatever conspiracy theory that they got going on in their head. So this idea that, the people defending themselves from people calling them racial slurs is violent, but the people that are voting a certain way or actually, again, go, because a lot of these people are criminals, right? A lot of these neo-Nazis, these Patriot Front people and Proud Boys are actual criminals who go out and try to find people to assault and harass or stalk. And I think that comes up on deaf ears where we really aren't having a serious conversation about what type of mindset does a person have to be in to go outside and call somebody a racial slur. I'm gonna probably wrap up and say that again because again I think that when it comes to these conversations, we really need to think about who's really emotionally unstable.
Society. I don't know if that's completely true, but why play into that? Why not try to fight for something better?
Also, let's be clear. He's done this to a lot of people, and a lot of people have walked away. A lot of people have been ignoring him.
That's the right response.
Which is the correct response, sure. But you also have to understand.
Nah, I mean, it depends.
He is pushing
who
them
you
to
are.
that point by looking for everybody.
Like, I saw a video yesterday. I was looking at video by a guy named Spark Up, right? He does a lot of good informative videos on black issues, anti-misogyny, homophobia, about the church, all sorts of stuff. He loves the Boondocks, apparently. But the point being is that this guy, Dalton, right, they were at some sort of coliseum that looked like an awesome skate spot, by the way. And he was calling these three black men the N-word and saying they were chimps, they were monkeys, and all this other shit. They walked away from him. He then followed them after they walked away, talking about some come over here and do something N-word, making monkey noises, calling them chimps and what have you. So this idea that you could just walk away from somebody, because we're all going walking speed. You can't always walk away or get away from somebody. Are they going to run from him? I don't think they have the responsibility to do that. So if Chud, right, or Dalton, whatever you want to call him, And that's not the only case. Even technically the one with Joshua Fox, he came up to him. He could have walked away. Dalton, very often at the time in these videos, followed, stalked, maintained presence of area around black people and continued to say racial slurs even when they walked away. So it was only a matter of time before somebody was going to kill him or he was going to go to prison.
And if you do that enough, you're going to land on the wrong one. Most black people have stayed away from him and been nonviolent. That's
despite him following them.
the reality. But yeah, he's somebody who was instigating a violent interaction. He was hoping for it. He's hoping to kill somebody. And he fucked around and he definitely did find out. And I'm glad that somebody like that is in jail.
Yeah.
I want those people off the streets.
Because this is not about freedom of speech. This is a psychopath who's latched on to a reason to try to kill people, specifically black people.
Day, the world is not just safe because someone doesn't attack you. It's also safe because someone doesn't verbally go after you all the time.
Or provoking you.
You know, I don't want my kid to walk around and then just be called slurs for existing. Some guy could run a kick account. Fuck that. I don't want somebody to go up to my kid, let's say if they're Muslim, and they're wrapping bacon around their face to try to antagonize them. I don't want that to happen to my mom or nobody else. I can look at them and say, get over it. But I'd rather live in a world where we go after these people who continues to try to monetize and go after folks and harass them. You can go to most places in the world and people have a long history of pain from the past. You brought up Japan in your second debate. If you go to Japan, you have to understand that most of their society has been built after World War II based off of their experience. Their constitution, their pacifist attitude with the military. If you go to Korea, they still have deep wounds when it comes to what Japan did to them. To this day, these countries don't get along because of a past
North and South Korea
incident. And they have studies, they have statues everywhere for
look up the Grape of Nanking sometimes, specifically referring to why China hates Japan. Japan was an imperial fascist empire throughout I would call that sort of like the early 1940s. During World War II. And, you know, I'm not going to say, you know, do a pissing contest of which country was worse than the other. But Japan arguably was even worse than Nazi Germany, Italy, and the Soviet Union during this time period. Because they committed so many atrocities against, you know, mostly innocent people that, you know, it's hard to really put into context without just sitting here and talking about that for hours myself.
If you go and disrespect the comfort women, they'll put you in jail. They will go after you for going out and then hurting their symbols and their longing pain. So this idea that because things happened in the past, everyone get over it, people are still holding on to pain and history much further back than what slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, like you're talking about segregation, I think 1963? And the legacy after that is still ongoing, but let's say that's the endpoint you want to choose. That's more recent than a...
Not to mention the fact when it comes to talking about segregation, I'm going to let this one last subject play out, then I'm going to end the video. A lot of the people that were alive during segregation are still alive. For instance, my mom grew up during segregation. She's still alive. My biological dad grew up during segregation. He's still alive. So I'm assuming a lot of these white people, especially the politicians in office and what have you, that are like, 70 and up, 60 and up, probably even 55 and up, grew up and had experiences right after or right before segregation. So this idea that segregation is this sort of like... this thing that was 100 years ago. It's kind of done on purpose, though, because you know that Ruby Bridges, for instance, is still alive, right? Rosa Parks died in, I think, 2009 or something like that. So a lot of these things, Fred Hampton Jr. is, he's the son of somebody from the Civil Rights era who was a baby in his mom's stomach during, of course, the assassination of Fred Hampton, the war crime, you know what I'm talking about. But the point being is that, a lot of this stuff is recent history. And the only reason why people think it's a long time ago is because the way that we talk about it, which is spoken about a certain way on purpose, so these things can seem like they're further away than what they really are. There are color photos of segregation in the civil rights movement, by the way. We're only shown black and white photos because that's a part of the propaganda war, to say that, oh, look how long ago this was. The photos are in black and white, when at the end of the day, no. The color cameras and color TV existed back in those days.
a lot of these other foreign countries that you referenced, and yet these people are still affected by those past events.
Yep.
And they have grown. They don't victimize themselves.
Yes, they do, 100%. A lot of these countries, right? Number one, Japan and Japanese internment camp victims, at least their families, got reparations from the U.S. government because they were interned for 5 years, right? I'm not saying that this practice is justified, but think about this. Black people were slaves in America for about what? 400 years, something like that. You know, even pre-colonial America. Since like 1619, black people were like literal property. And especially with the advent of the formation of America in 1776 all the way to 1865, and then not to mention the other discrimination that even happened after that, like Jim Crow, redlining, and so forth, right? That is at least 200 years or more of state-sanctioned oppression of black people versus 5 years of Japanese internment. We also got the fact that Germany has paid reparations to Israeli Jews and to even American Jews. The United States has also paid about $90 million to Native American people for the atrocities that happen to them. The only group of people that get shouted down and we have these ignorant conversations about what was what and who's a victim, who's not, is only when black people talk about reparations, funnily enough. So this guy over here, I believe that's preached, is 100% right. That a lot of these places, do have grievances against other countries, even after the reparation payments, right? But it's only black people that get shouted down. Is because these are people who want something from somebody, and these are people whose families don't want to pay for the things that happen. And and then there's also a lot of people, because to be honest, when it comes to reparations program, a lot of these white people are aware that this shit is not coming directly out of their pocket. It'll probably come out of some type of fund made by the U.S. government, but people don't want black people to have economic power. They want black people to be poor. They want black people that work the worst jobs. They want black people to have to kiss ass if they want the good job or to get through college. And the idea of millions of black people having hundreds of thousands of dollars is just scary to racist people, and it's scary to Uncle Toms who have ass kissed their way through the system. So they have to speak out against quote unquote reparations because they don't want their spots threatened. So that's the real reparations argument. And that's really why Sneako, or even I heard Anton Daniels and Brandon Tatum and Candace Owens, that's why, and even of course white supremacists themselves have this thought terminating sort of logic about reparations, like, oh, it's so long ago, oh, other people got over it. Is because black economic power and black communities actually having a sort of power center and infrastructure will be a great threat to white supremacy because of the unity we have, and because the fact that and it's like so much would change in America, like a lot, because like America's economy, right? I'm not saying it's propped up completely on black debt and black problems that go on in our communities, but if a lot of these problems disappear, like black credit card debt, black car loan debt, black people started to become homeowners at fast rates, a lot of the racist problems that we deal with will also start to get solved too, because the economic gaps that allow wiggle room for those problems to persist won't be there, and racist people can't have that. You can't say black people are poor N-words if they have a Cadillac with a nice house because of the reparations program. Then your grievances start to sound stupid. And then also that black person is moving into your neighborhood. And a lot of people don't want that.
They try to move forward. That's the point. Is that although there's hurt and things can trigger, generational trauma and stuff, allowing it to hold you back and living in a victim mentality, that's not the way that I think people...
And which is also ironic. And I think I'm going to end this video here because I don't want to be here all day. But speaking about the victim mentality thing, we already addressed the idea that different groups of people outside of black people, especially black Americans, have grievances against different other groups of people in other countries from the past. And this cannot be ignored, especially with the citations that I've given and the citations that this guy has given earlier. But I think that the most important thing out of this conversation that I wanted to get at was the so-called, oh, you should just ignore it. I think that a little bit of hiccups. Hopefully I'm not hiccuping while I'm trying to close out this video. I'm going to be really pissed off. But, I believe this to be certain. If you feel the need to go outside and call people racial slurs and say horrible things to people in order to feel validated, or you think that that's normal conversation, you're the person that has no emotional intelligence, and you're unstable, and you possibly are a danger to society, and you should be locked up. Not because your freedom of speech, just because you're a person who is constantly violating the social contract and being on the existence of good people in this world. So, yeah. Get therapy.